My name is Richard Cornwell. K9RCP is my call sign, and as of about a week and a half ago, I just became an extra class, so yay! So this mesh network discussion, or seminar I should say, we're going to talk about a lot of different services we have on our mesh network. I'm going to ask you guys questions because you guys are here for the seminar as well. And we'd like to know certain things. But the coolest thing about this right now, and the reason why you're seeing me live on this screen up here, and you see the cameras and all this fun stuff, is we're actually broadcasting live right now.
Oh, right.
Over our mesh. So there's people watching throughout the whole entire world over the mesh network through supernodes. So if you're on the mesh right now and watching, that's cool. We're also on our website, WVMN.net, so we're kind of like simulcasting it everywhere. So kind of cool that we're starting to do like amateur TV through the mesh network. This feed, by the way, is 720p. You're watching it the exact way that everybody else is going to see it, so it's a little bit fuzzy, but we're trying to compress it just enough to make sure that everybody gets a good experience. And those, how many people do IT or understand? Good, all right. So this is just under 900 kilobits of data, 720p, 30 frames per second, H.264. So we're going to get into that really in a little bit. Because one thing about this talk is over the, our network in the Willamette Valley, we are up to, I can't even count, but we've hit over 400 nodes at one point. We keep on going, 380 to 400. The cool thing about our network is a lot of the services, because of, it is part 97, I'm going to mess this up, we can't run internet over it. And so a lot of those apps, we have to build from the ground up. And so if we bring the internet over on the mesh, there might be an ad, there might be, a payment. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you're saying you're not allowed to have encrypted connections over here now.
Or commercial services. If it's displaying an ad, there's a money exchange, it's commercial purposes. So no. That's one of the things that I don't think people understand very well, that as soon as you get one ad over the mesh, you're violating the rules. But what I will say with that is, because of that, I don't know how many people program. How do you guys program? Good section, very nice. You guys are very valuable in this network. And the reason for that is because we have to build those applications, whether it's a file server, whether it's a chat system, whatever the case, a webcam, or in this case, live streaming. We need people to build those apps that don't rely upon the internet. And a lot of that's built from the ground up. So with this talk, we're going to talk about our mesh network a little bit. For those that don't or haven't actually seen what our network is, we're going to show some of the services that we have, as well as some of the programs that we built from the ground up, so you guys can kind of see what we're very soon going to be releasing. So if you're online or here, and if you guys are already on the mesh, which, just out of curiosity, how many of you guys are on the mesh? That's a good third of the room. That's very good. You guys can use this software to build apps for your guys' counties, EOCs, or to play and learn about mesh networking. And it doesn't just have to be, for EOC use. Just you guys learning about the network, building a network, because it all meshes together. You might have a node at your house pointing at a hilltop. 2-3 blocks away, he can see you but can't see that hilltop. He can connect to you, and now he's on the mesh. And so it grows this network because it's a mesh network.
Let's try on the slideshow.
Yeah, all right, here we go. Let's go to slides. And we're going to do this. 1 second. Go away. Okay, so our network, and a lot of these were built just today, so that's That never got built, actually. So, all right, what is our emergency data network? It's originally was made kind of for ENCOM use, but the thing is a lot of people got to realize, if you don't make it fun and make it interesting for people to build stuff on it, you have no network. The biggest thing about AREDN is getting other hams interested in it and wanting to build it out, because other than some funding that has happened, a lot of the network is built by you guys wanting to learn and build it. There's no one big group that's going out and putting sites up everywhere. It's a conglomeration of us ham operators coming together for a goal of, hey, we think this is really cool, and because we think it's cool and we're building and designing this network, we are useful in an emergency situation. So, yeah. Anywho, I read some of this off as I'm not supposed to, but started in 2014 was the original firmware for the old school WRT54GLs from Linksys. Now we're using commercial equipment, more reliable, better firmwares. You can get stuff as cheap as $30. It's all commercial equipment. And yeah, all technicians can use this. You don't need an extra or a general or anything special. Again, building a network, relationship with hams. It's all open source. A lot of the closed source stuff is encrypted, so like TeamSpeak, things of that nature. Can't really run that over that. Build, hack things, all that fun stuff. Here's our network as it is now. It goes from Camas, Washington down to Medford. 126 hams. That's the amount of call signs that we've seen on our network. And between 380 to 400 nodes.
You should know we're connected to Hawaii here.
Oh, and we're connected to Hawaii through the internet, but yeah. RF miles over 1,000. That was a year and a half ago. We haven't looked at that number for a while, sadly enough. We should really recalculate that because we're probably about 1,200 now, is my guess. But what I want to say about that is a few years ago, the 5.8 gigahertz spectrum was being looked at to be removed from our use by the FCC. We put some documentation together for AREDN's lawyers, and we helped with that process. And in doing so, we were kind of told by AREDN and their lawyers that we are one of the biggest microwave providers around the United States, if not maybe the world, due to our geographical layout and how many RF miles we have, which is quite cool to think about. And then, that is a misspelling, whoever wrote that in my group. Grupos? I know. Someone's going to register that?
That's the Greek one.
That's the Greek one, okay. We have about, so out of our group of hams that are connected to our network of 126, we have 278 people on our groups.io, which is a forum where we talk about our mesh and all that fun stuff. So, just some numbers. We have different apps and services, mesh map, just a map of our network. You saw that previously. SAM, which I'm going to show you guys in depth here in a little bit. We have webcams, PBX. That's another thing I'm going to show you here in a bit that we are releasing softly. I'll talk more about that later. Email, there's a lot of different email systems. None of them really fit the bill, and we're going to talk about that here in a bit. But email is going to be my winter project. My last winter project is Mesh PBX, and we're going to talk about that too. Chat and file servers, all that fun stuff. So, getting on the mesh, it can be as cheap as $30 if you're buying used. It can be expensive as $150, anywhere in between. So this is a HAP. Right now, our streaming is going through this device, and it's going over the internet here, over to our servers in Newburgh, which is doing the live feed. But that device is around $50. Flash with AREDN, and it's allowing me to tunnel my device into our network. So I don't have to do RF, which here doesn't really have an RF environment for it. So yeah, install, provide feedback on things, use it. We have a mesh network discussion net every Thursday at 7 o'clock on the WA7AB repeater, which is the 14529 repeater in Salem, Oregon. We have our groups.io, which is spelled correct this time. And we have our website, wildlimesh.net, which has a lot of good information. And yeah.
We can get on, tell them we can get on the All-Star or Excellent.
Yeah.
Join us on that.
Yeah, so we're on All-Star. So Thursday night, 7 o'clock, node number 54326. I memorize that now. But anyway, yeah. So agenda, most of the stuff we're not gonna care about that stuff, but a lot of this is from our State of the Mesh discussion we do every January, roughly, February. We kind of get as many people as we can on a Zoom call, and we talk about just how our network's doing and performing. Which, we don't care about this. Where have we been? You guys can read this if you want. Let's get to the good fun stuff. So 370 nodes as I think January. We're now up to 380 to 400. It comes in waves sometimes when people disconnect and connect. We're working on stabilizing that. 638 devices, the RF miles, all the fun stuff. 16 counties through Oregon and Southwest Washington. Yeah, go ahead.
I just lit up a new installation of 5 nodes set up at Eastside Hospital in Eugene.
Nice. And a lot of the cool things we're doing is we're getting a lot of hardware on hospitals because, in case of emergency, having the ability to talk from one hospital to another is beneficial. I don't know if they'll ever use it to send an X-ray from one hospital to another, but the fact that they can use WinLink to give situational reports to OEM, use WinLink, it's beneficial for them because they're not tying up RF on 2 meters or 440 with a packet station. They can send it in milliseconds using the mesh. So, rapid growth, 200, almost 300 nodes in 2022. A lot of that had to do with the ARDC grant that actually Ken Tolliver in the back there won and got, and that added quite a few nodes to our mesh network. I kind of started out in the Salem area when we were down to when we started out around 49 nodes, and ever since then we've grown it since. That was around 2018.
100 nodes in August 2020.
Yeah, 100 nodes August 2020. So that's just huge growth. We have installations at St. Vincent Hospital, Livingston Mountain, Twilliger Plaza, all that fun stuff. You guys can read that. This number hasn't been updated, but it's a good, rough idea. 57 IP phones on the mesh network. So those are desktop phones or, mainly desktop phones actually. That's where we pulled that data from. 11 mesh phone offices. Those are PBX servers in all these lovely counties. And they're interoperable. So they'll do ham shack hotline and plain old telephone system. So you can call out from our phone system and make a phone call to your cell phone or your buddy. So think about that for a second. Your power goes out, your node's hooked up to your battery pack, your laptop works, your desktop phone's there, your ham setup's there, but you want to call your wife that's, at the hospital or still at work, but, cell tower's down. As long as you have that link and can get to the PBX, you're golden. All that fun stuff. Let's just continue. This is something really cool on our network, and it was one of the first services that I built, actually. So I found this piece of software called Tiny File Manager, which doesn't work out of the box if you don't have internet. So I actually had to take it apart, pull the CSV files, which are the style sheets for the web page, the JSON objects that are calling out to another service, like a CDN, and cache them locally so it would actually work on our mesh network without any internet. So that was the first thing I did. The second thing is, and again, you guys get on the mesh or on the mesh, The file server, K9RCP-server/file-manager. If you create a folder under that, call it your call sign, and in that folder, you create another folder called public, you can actually access that over the internet, which is really handy because say you're on the mesh network and you want to store set documents, now it's on the mesh network. And it's also available for public to use. So that was one of my first things I built. I don't know if other people might want to do that. It does require the device or the server to be connected both the mesh and the internet, support forwarding. That was one of the first things I did, which was really cool. So chat and email. We have a service called Mesh Chat. I think most of you probably know what it is. It's just a chat system that's web-based. It works pretty well. There's a couple flaws with it, but they're being ironed out.
Devices, yeah.
Huh?
It's built into the little device.
Oh, it's built in the little, yeah.
I also wrote an extension to Mesh Chat, which allows, which is a gateway between Mesh Chat and EPRS.
Yep.
So messages can go, you can just easily light up a session of Mesh Chat and send messages out simply by typing. It's really very easy.
Yeah, trying to merge different services together so we have the ability to go from one to another. There's a lot of things that we're kind of designing and building from the ground up. And it's quite cool to get that aha moment when you're programming this stuff. One thing I will say, and real fast, RMS servers for WinLink, WinLink over AREDN, and then Mesh Chat. One thing I will say is there is like Citadel for doing email. There's a lot of want for email services other than WinLink. And like I was gonna say, that is my winter project. I'm gonna show you another project tonight which is PBXs that I've been spending an insane amount of time on, which is really awesome. But this winter, I'm gonna be tackling building from the ground up a mail server that's self-registering for people. And it just works throughout our network. Yeah, go ahead.
In the previous slide, how
Yep.
do you manage interaction with modern PCs or computers, which have some expectation for SMB to have encryption, things like that? How does that work?
So the question, just for everybody else because we can't hear you, is how do we, on the file managing portion, how do we not use like encryption, right, with like SMB, and what type of like interaction for the end user? And the idea behind everything is, let's not use a dedicated application. FTP no longer supported in web browsers. Even though back in the early 90s, probably 80s, that was the best thing since sliced bread. No one really uses it anymore. A lot of services, like cameras, they'll upload via FTP, but no one really supports it now. So we kind of thought when we were building a lot of the services is, let's not have to have someone install an app unless it's absolutely required. And that's where we try to do everything in the browser. Because putting it in the browser, my phone can access it. My laptop, your laptop, it doesn't matter, it's all web-based. But again, there's a lot of services that won't. For instance, this live feed right now, it's going to everyone. It requires an application called OBS. That application has to be installed. There's no way, since they killed Flash in the browser, which is yay but nay in certain cases, ever since they killed Flash, there's no way of encoding video live like that in the browser. Unless you do web RTC, which I haven't
We
learned
can
that
all
yet.
view it through our browser.
Yeah, you guys can all view it through the browser, but the encoding portion is, yeah. But that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Cool. So like I said, eventually I'm going to rebuild the email system. I already started like some of the base code for it, but we'll get into that maybe next year. Yeah, good?
Are you going to include the forms required by the emergency service?
Looking into that, yeah. Forms are very easy. You basically pull up the form. It's basically a form that then gets encoded into a certain layout, and that's an attachment, so it's not that hard.
Will your email be IMAP so we can have our own client front end?
Yeah, I'm working on that. So getting Delve Cove to work with that, it's a thing, but we'll talk more about that later. Go ahead.
what are you coding this in, and is it available on GitHub or somewhere like that?
Yeah, so a lot of it's PHP because that's my favorite language, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Cardinal sin. But one person walks out like, okay, I heard enough. not my language. A lot of it's in PHP, just because it's the easiest for me to go through and do it. Yeah. And then it is on GitHub. When I show you guys the PBX software, we'll have to like come up with a way to like give early access because I'm not completely done with it. So collaboration software, Citadel, Nextcloud, BBSs. Yeah. We used to have a scanner on our network, so you could listen to police, and then there were some questions about the legality of that because of rebroadcasting and all that fun stuff. But here's some of the other services. Weird topic, but just out of curiosity, how many of you guys are diabetics in here? Yeah, so same here. And the sad part about that is you always have to like check your blood sugar. Well, they came out with these little sensors that monitor your blood glucose and send it to your phone. Well, one night I got bored and I built an app for that, and it's now on the mesh network. So, all right. Just small things, and I'll show it to you guys just so you guys can get a kick out of it because.
Can we deliver insulin to you?
That, fortunately, no. But here, we'll just do this.
By the way,
real fast.
you can let them see that big map for just a second. How many large things we have?
It's not loading right now. We'll just pop this up. Your screen only. Infinity. So under services here, if you click on overview, here's a lot of the different services. And if you click on glucose down here, you'll see my current glucose level with a graph. I mean, I got bored. Yeah, and that little marker.
Blood sugar over ham radio.
Yeah, blood sugar over ham radio. But the cool thing is that that thing slides back and forth. I had to like map that as a whole thing, which that's the wrong time. Huh. Oh well, we'll fix that in next revision.
Isn't 120
Right date, it's just the wrong
Time, yeah. It's probably doing UTC or something. But all right, let's go back to our slides. Okay. So
The third one down is really important, I think.
APRS and live mapping.
I'll start.
I'll start. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm reading from the bottom up. Sorry. I'll start repeating. Yeah, we're so we all get on a repeater typically. It's the Salem 529, and it has All-Star. But when we came to here, we have no way of hitting Salem from here. And while we have mesh, we need to be able to talk to our friends. So being able to put an All-Star node in our hotel room that does analog was really beneficial to us. And so over our mesh network, this device connects to our hotel internet, and then our All-Star node wirelessly, which is a Raspberry Pi and a Sherry device, which is like $80. Connects wireless to this or to the hotel internet, and it connects over through our mesh network and right into our repeater, which is awesome. Because now we have the ability to key up the repeater over here in Seaside, Simplex.
And the flip side for the repeater owners who want a camera for security, or even to haul audio up to the site where they don't have internet necessarily.
We don't have internet in our repeater.
Big advantage.
Let's see here. So we have weather stations, ADSB. We do a lot of balloon tracking. I don't know if you guys ever, like Salem Airport, NOAA sends up weather balloons. We capture them and prizes. Sorry. That over there in the white is a Raspberry Shake device. Everybody's worried about Cascadia nowadays because it's overdue. The cool thing is on our mesh network we have a seismograph, and that is also on our website. You see, I find it under services seismograph, and you can view it. It's in Eugene, Oregon, and you can kind of see what's going on without the internet. The same person that provided that to our mesh also has an antenna that pulls down, what is it, NOAA 18, GOES 18, and all the weather satellites, and has a really cool weather station, and we have that on the mesh, so having those to look at weather without any internet is also a thing. And then they just recently put one of the people in our group, I think in our group, put basically a ChatGPT bot, or not bot, but a llama on there. And you can actually ask it questions, which...
You could use your program, sir.
It can write code.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have played with ChatGPT, but you can... Huh?
Does it hallucinate?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Just click new chat and you're fine. It won't hallucinate anymore. But the cool thing is even if you don't know how to program, one thing I'm going to urge you guys to do is learn how to program something. Python, Node.js, PHP, I'm sorry. But learn a language, because the ability to take data and morph it into what you want the output to be using programming languages, one of the best things you can learn. Save you time at work, potentially. Like I built an app for my billing department of my work where they have to match up the CSV file, make sure everything matches. So you drag and drop it, it does it, kicks it back and shows you the lines that don't match. Saves them 30 minutes twice a month. So it's beneficial not just for my employer, but like for you guys trying to do things. Anyway, like learn a language. If you need help, like there's a lot of websites to learn like Python, and then ChatGPT, which is funny, it's free. You can ask it questions. If you don't understand something, it will tell you exactly how to do it, and it'll teach you. It's very beneficial for that. And if you get too deep with it, it may hallucinate and tell you a story about
This one's
something.
local and is not owned by Microsoft. This is the open source.
Yeah, so that one is local on our network, running on a machine on our network, and it's not connected to the internet basically. It's all locally ran. So we use a lot of Proxmox for our VMs because EXXI kind of changed their licensing.
What is Proxmox?
Yeah, no problem. So Proxmox is a virtualization environment. What that means is, you have a computer. Think of it as it sections off, your computer to run multiple computers on. So you might run, a computer to run mapping on. You might have one that does a webcam. You run virtual machines. You virtualize it. And so we kind of started using Proxmox primarily. Due to the fact it's ease of use and it doesn't cost anything, which is nice. Yeah, yeah, and you can get little computers that are like this big. I should have brought mine, but hindsight's 20/20. But you can get them for, you can get an old thin client on eBay for 120 bucks. Throw Proxmox on it, 16 gigs of RAM, solid state drive, and you're off to the races for $150. And Proxmox software is free. And then you can start just building things. And it's all web-based, again. We love web-based. Only thing is it does require SSL for security, but as long as you don't use that over RF, you're fine, wink. Okay, so, they also got Eugene to Florence over fiber, coordinated, what was this?
And Salem.
Huh?
Eugene to Salem.
And Eugene to Salem. Some of the stuff we do, where we're doing on time, we're getting close. So here's our mesh network growth up until earlier this year. Again, it's gone over 400 a few times. And this is all graphed using Grafana, John?
The display is Grafana, the underlying database is InfluxDB, and the scrapers are JSON.
Nice. There's Proxmox. This is what the UI looks like when you go to log in and have all your services. You can also pull up the console as if you're in front of the computer, all through the web browser, which makes it really nice. Remember that solar flare we had? That's beautiful. First time I've ever seen a solar flare. This camera, which is an all-sky camera, caught it, as you can see right here. This is in Sweet Home Mountain, and we caught that on that, which was kind of cool to see. All right, this is for later, but we're going to jump into some of the apps. So let me just.
So first our big network. Map again.
Yeah. I'm going to do it a different way. So, any of you guys use Grid Tracker?
I played with it.
Yeah. I use Grid Tracker. Me and the person that programmed it kind of goes back for a little ways. He used to build Shoutcast audio. But anyway, long story short, me and him were talking back in 2020, 2021, somewhere in there, when we had the fires down Corvallis, Lebanon area. And his property was, on the verge of potentially catching on fire. And we were talking, and there was no real good data source to know where the fire was. And so him doing Grid Tracker, we kind of talked, and he was going to do it, but decided not to. But it stuck in my head that we need, especially in like MCOM, we need a service that shows a map that we can put stuff on, not just APRS type stuff, but like data that's useful in an emergency. And so this, which is a very large map, I built from the ground up, uses Leaflet, a lot of PHP, sorry, again. But this map shows you all the calls over Pulse Point. We were able to figure out how Pulse Point, the web UI, is able to output that data.
What do you mean by calls?
So Pulse Point calls are fire EMS calls that run through that system. Not every county supports it, but we were able to get that data and display it on this map. So you get the agency number, call time, who's responding, things of that nature, which is nice to kind of be able to see what's going on. And it'll show like car accidents, bridge down, wires down, things of that. That is really nice to have during power outages to see where those trees are down at, see what roads are available, how to get out. PGE, they have a web app, and there's an easy way of pulling that data. So we now have PGE outage information on there. I'd love to add more power companies. Not everyone supports an easy JSON object to export the data through, but PGE is pretty nice at that. We also have, just zoom in a little more. These blue orbs are our webcams on the mesh. Again, streaming through the mesh. And that is the Newburgh Airport at my work. And it's a live view of it. Again, you can access this on the mesh or over the internet. We also have the one up in Portland at OHSU. I don't know if I have that up still. We're having issues at OHSU, but whatever. Okay, so to do this mapping, we had to create tile servers and all that fun stuff. Yeah, okay, so here's another real cool one real fast. So WinLink will do WinLink field situation reports. And so I built an app that runs on the person taking in the report, so like EOCs and such. And it takes that data from that WinLink station and uploads it to our server. And those get put on this map, so you can, the EOC can pull up all these little dots, click on it, and they get a report. It's not great, I really should clean it up, but they can kind of see what's going on, so can you. Again, not every EOC is going to support that, but it's there. Okay, so this map, one of the things that kind of sucks is setting up a tile server. And a tile server requires a bunch of storage, especially if you want to get out of state of Oregon. So what I've opted to do, and I can do this because the facility that runs this has generator power, multiple bonded network connections, so the chance of it losing internet is very unlikely. Plus, we also have a tile server. But I'm gonna show you something cool. So I'm gonna go to my local node real fast. We're gonna go to mesh status. And by the way, this is what a standard node looks like. You guys haven't seen this before. And we're gonna go to my Wi-Fi mesh node. And right here you'll see WVMN tile server. And this will show you a status page. But the cool thing about this is we have OpenStreetMap that will let you have OpenStreetMap, which is what you saw earlier. We also have a satellite view. So if we go back to the situational awareness map, and I click right here and select satellite, we now have satellite over the mesh without any internet. I mean, there is internet, but we also cache it on our side, so we still have it. But having the ability to look at something via satellite with no internet over our network, to me is really cool. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember when you first saw satellite imagery that you could zoom in at when I was a kid. That's the coolest thing ever. Anywho, NextRad, we were able to pull that in WMS format and cache it on our network. So you can, if you build an app, or if your app, whether it's APRS Direct, whatever, needs a tile, you can use these, and they're just available on our network. And then lightning strikes. That's through lightning.org, I believe. You can tie into their tiles as well. And then you see our cache statistics, how many objects we have, things like that. And then what our current network, which for this talk, I turned it on to Starlink because why not? But anyhow, so Sam.
How often do you cache that?
So if it's weather, it is, I believe, 4 minutes. Yeah, everything else is up to a week to 2. We only do that because I don't want to keep calling. It's based off of the Mapbox, service. So it's using my API key on the back end of it. But the cool thing is it's very easy to use because all it is a configuration file for Nginx with your keys in certain spots, and it's done. And it basically uses a little bit of storage on your temp folder to store the cache. That's it. Let's see here. So you have pulse point. I'm gonna put it back over to this. So you have pulse point in red. That's the active calls. We also have all the previous for the last 24 hours. We also have all the ODOT cameras. And again, ODOT is primarily online, but we're able to cache that through a simple PHP cache. And so it's able to pull it out over the internet, bring it to our network, where we can then display it to the end user that may not have internet. So this is a live camera, or not live camera, but snapshot can provide live, so on and so forth. If we come up to here, you can hit probably one up here too. So, there's a lot of cameras on ODOT. We also have Washington DOT as well. You've seen our AREDN cams. Here's weather. If I zoom out, we'll see weather bands. Maybe. Yeah, we're locking up because probably everyone's using it now, is my guess. That's online. It's starting to load, but we'll just kill that. Lightning should show up as well. We probably don't have any lightning near us, but if we go, there's some lightning. Earthquakes. So, after an earthquake, having the ability to see all the different earthquakes on a map, especially for an EOC, you can click on any one of these, see the magnitude and the time. So, just click Sacramento right here. I don't have the time on there. I gotta put that. Sorry. But you can see all the magnitude, and they change color and the size based off how strong they are.
Yeah, what's that big one off the Oregon coast?
There's always some right there. Yeah, 3.9. Not too bad.
Richard, is AREDN a nationwide system?
Yeah, so if I go to our website, and let me see if I can get this one full screen for you guys.
So what does the no RF mean on that map?
No RF is devices that are tunnels, pretty much. So give a second to load. So if we were to remove all,
Zoom out.
I don't think I can on this one to do that, but okay. So zoom out.
Yeah.
So globally through what is known as Supernode, we're able to access all of these stations here, which is nice and slow. I'm trying to encode all this. Richard was supposed to have 2 laptops, one to do the streaming, one to do the presentation. Presentation gods said no. So we have access to any of these nodes through the Supernode project that links our network to the greater AREDN network. And so it's a pretty good sized network. 2,631 nodes.
And not all the supernodes are on yet. Right?
Huh? What?
Not all the supernodes are on yet.
Yeah, not all the supernodes. So this is just what's connected to the greater network. There's still a lot of networks that are not connected at all.
The
So
purple dot in the middle of the ocean there is when you forget to put the minus sign in front of your.
yeah. So if you don't put your GPS coordinates, it'll show like at the 0 point of the map.
Yeah, 0.
But, let's see here. Let's jump back over to situational awareness map. I've had people ask me like, can we use this? Like, what would it take? So putting it on the internet makes it a whole lot different than putting it on our network. You have to like give attributes and everything. I haven't figured out the legalese of that, which I'm gonna have to do soon. But once we figure that out, I do plan to release it here soon because there's a lot of ARES groups that have asked about, they see it on our network and they wanna have it locally as well.
Including rewrite capabilities, so they can
Yep.
add items.
Yep. So fires, that's not all fires. That's a satellite that's interpreting certain things as potential fires because of infrared. And then last one, and I'll say something about this one. EPA has a website that shows a map of every single air quality monitor that Purple Air makes. So over 14,000 of them. It's on an S3 bucket just sitting there in JSON, or no, CSV. I found it one night, and I was like, oh, that's cool. It'd be nice to have air quality, because when the fires happen, you know. Trying to load 14,000 objects is a pain, because it slows down the computer. I don't even know if my computer will render it. Okay, it did. But you see like spots, like right there in the center, there's a yellow spot where like the air quality is getting up there. So it changes color based off the air quality. It'll eventually go purple. That's like
Yeah, so they're farting over
15. But anyhow, so that's SAM. That's just one of my random projects. So you guys seen SAM, Situational Awareness Map. You guys seen the mesh tile server. Now here's for the final big one that I've been working on. So we knew when we first started the network, we gotta have the ability to make phone calls. Not everyone's a ham, not everyone has, you know, they wanna make phone calls. Not everyone wants to use text. And so PBXs using asterisks came up as a potential way of doing that. And people started using like free PBX. They started using roll your own, many different versions of PBX software, from Switch to whatever. A lot of those require internet, and a lot of them, how do I say this? They're very noisy. And what I mean by noisy is they put out a lot of errors in their console when they don't get internet, or they can't update, or whatever. So after administrating 3 now, and seeing the shortfalls of it, I said, well, wouldn't it be easier if I just built my own from the ground up? So me and John here, over many sessions, and a few other hams, including Sean, which is, where are you, Sean? Right over there. I spent, I don't know how many nights working on code, and mainly me coding, and they just listening to me yapper about, you know, this function isn't working right. We built a PBX server that still is being developed. It's not finalized. It's not ready for like you guys to deploy. We're gonna do it in small like sections until we completely release it. But here is the software. So this is Yamhill County's PBX. This page right here is fully editable. You can put whatever you want. This is kind of the information about our PBX. I probably should put some stuff off of there actually, because, oh well. But some information about our PBX. The original software that kind of started this was from a ham named Mark M2MH. He kind of came up with the way the dialing system works and the layout of the mesh network. Or not mesh network, the mesh phone system. It kind of started to pave that out. We've kind of taken that because you had to do a lot of command line stuff and kind of rolled it into download this Git repo, run bash install, and it sets everything up, installs everything on Debian 11, other operating systems when I feel like it. No offense. But you can dial by call sign, dial by mesh phone number, tips, calling services, voicemail, conference bridge, test numbers, all that fun stuff. Right now we only have a couple downloads for Windows. I'm going to put up there eventually the APK for your Android phone to also act as a VoIP phone to the PBX. It's very interesting. I wish Google would not have done this, but about 3 years ago, Google removed from the dialer app of all Android phones the ability to subscribe via SIP to make phone calls over Android. And I drink for this. So now you have to install an app.
Can you explain those are soft phone software?
Yeah, this is all software phones, not hardware. One thing I'll say is we're going to do a demo here in a bit. This is just an Android phone. It's connected to this AREDN device. Yes, it is. Connected to this AREDN device up here. That device is connected to, so this is its own network. That device over there, which is in a little Go kit, which is really cool, is a regular hardware phone. We can make a phone call from one phone to the other. We're not connecting directly, we're connecting out through our network and then back. But I'm going to talk about this for a couple more seconds and then we'll switch to that. Here's our PBX status. So right now you can see everyone that's on that, their current status. Here's all of our interconnected PBXs. You can see the registration, ping, if it's registered, all that fun stuff. You can actually click on any one of these, especially if it's a mesh PBX, and get the mesh PBX UI. Any phone calls that are active will show up here. And then here's the call logs. And we actually wrote some code into it, so if you don't want one of these to show up here, you can say, I don't want that to show up, hide it, and it won't show up on the UI for the regular user, but the admin users can see everything. We also built a web-based voicemail. Because of the way our network works and the way supernodes work, if it's a mesh PBX, we're looking at, especially through my system, being able to access this, just the login prompt for your voicemail for any mesh PBX system, as long as it's connected through a supernode that can hit our network. So you can access your voicemail without even being on the mesh. And that's for people that receive an email that says, hey, here's a phone call, or you want to just pull it up on your phone, you can. You don't have to worry about doing port forwards or anything special. But you can just put in your extension, your PIN number, and there's your phone calls, and you can play them. You can also delete them. And then finally, the admin section, which, find my mouse again. Am I that blind today?
Right.
So there's my call sign. I want to show you guys something. See how many characters I've entered? Watch when I hit enter. See how it added an extra one? Very weird, not normal. One thing about mesh is you have no way of securing your password. So everything's in plain text. So how do you log into something securely, especially when you're sending over that password in plain text? So I got to thinking one night and I got bored, and that ends badly, because I started building random apps, and I've created a basic PHP authentication module that allows you to authenticate by taking your password, MD5ing it, taking current time of both machines, and basically creating a one-time password on both sides and comparing it. So what transfers over our network is a 6-digit code that's only valid for 30 seconds. So now we have a way of making it so, and we also use the IP address of that user. So even if someone steals your session cookie, unless they're you on your IP address, it's not even valid for them. So we basically secured the way of administrating this server without violating any encryption laws or obfuscation. Because literally it's just 6-digit code that's valid only at one point in time. So if we go to the About page, you can actually edit this page. And I'm going to say password manager, no. And we have placeholders, so it goes into the config file, and it will pre-fill that information onto the page, including like your sysops, which are down here. We're going to manage extensions. So here's all of our extensions. And if I was to go to our SEAPAC demo,
Time to quit.
it's time to quit. All right, extension is enabled, all the settings for it, the password for the phone, lat long. We're able to pull when the device registers to our network. It will pull down the IP address from, or not the IP address, the location from the local node it's associated with. Has voicemail pin. Dual ring is where you want to make a phone call, or say you have a phone on the mesh network connected to this PBX, and your buddy calls you and you're not there at your phone. It'll simultaneously ring that phone and another phone, or that phone and your cell phone through the PSTN network. So, like quite literally, I can make a phone call from this to my extension at my office at work, and it will show up on my cell phone through the regular cell phone network because of that feature. So that's another option that we have there.
Okay, so we gotta pause here, because we have 10 minutes break before the next thing. So
Yep.
You gotta go right to the end.
So this will be released a little bit later. Yeah, any questions real fast? Yeah?
In the Puget Sound area, we have the LAN system there.
Yep, HAMWAN?
Can you compare and contrast HAMWAN hardware and network versus AREDN hardware network?
It's pretty much the same actually. Both of them do 5.86 gigahertz. The only difference is HAMWAN uses the default MikroTik international firmware versus the AREDN rewrites that completely. And yeah, it's a
mesh.
Real fast, SEAPAC president, yes? I guess it's time to go. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right.
Yeah.